Welcome to Manhood Race Culture Interactive. The date is July 15th. The year is 2021. And we are here discussing what has turned into a very interesting brouhaha within the city of Houston, Texas. The brouhaha that I am referring to is the magnificent explosion of a place called the Turkey Leg Hut that has become, for those of you who are not Houstonians, it is the place to be, no doubt. I don't care what time you go down Alameda, you shall see at least 200 people standing outside in that hot Houston sun trying to get entree into the Turkey Leg Hut. Now, the Turkey Leg Hut has kind of made local news for this reason. They allege, and I guess it may be better if I go ahead and read it to you. Some of the allegations that we've seen coming out of the Turkey Leg Hut. See if I can get this going. All right, and of course it would not work for me right now. Let me see if I can see if this will work for us this time. Okay. The Turkey Leg Hut is owned by these two African American entrepreneurs right here. And they have kind of run into some trouble from one segment of our community. And that segment of the community, and their name is Nakia and Lynn Price. Let me read you Nakia Price's quote, because what has essentially happened is that the Turkey Leg Hut has decided to put a dress code and also a code of conduct in place in regards to people patronizing their business. And here's what she had to say. We never governed what people wore before, but now it's becoming increasingly worse. What we're seeing is the extreme, like shorts so short that literally your butt is hanging out, or shredded shorts with no underwear. When did it become okay to just wear this in public, period, let alone a restaurant? The dress code that we implemented is pretty lax. The only thing that we're asking is that you have some respect. Now, to delve in further to this, let's look at some of the rules that they are implementing in this establishment before we open it up to the floor. No excessively revealing clothing. Shorts must cover your entire bottom. No obscene language or baggy clothing. No house attire, including wave caps, do rags, house shoes, or shower caps. No exposed undergarments, including sports bras, panties, or garments resembling these items. No swimwear of any kind. Now, when we look at this and we deal with it, I think that there's a segment of our society, and I'm pretty sure that it is more than amply represented by the individuals inside of this intellectual community, who will have no problem whatsoever in regards to recognizing the worth, the utility, and the right of Lynn and Nakia Price to put these rules within their establishment. But the backlash, and I don't know if this is a case of it being a vocal minority who's really causing a lot of ruckus, but they're small in number. I kind of side with that not being the case. I believe that these people are, those opposing the owners of the Turkey Leg Hut are numerous in number. They are crying foul. And they've gone so far as to issue the scandalous assertion that the prices are actually anti Black, that the measures that they have put in place are actually specifically directed at curtailing Black culture. And it takes us back to something that we repeatedly talked about within this space, and it's something that I hope that we can get into here. Is the great Chris Rock segment of his stand-up, where Chris Rock says that there's a civil war going on within Black America between Black folks and niggas gotta go. Is this a case of that, or are we reading this totally wrong? Sister DC, the floor is yours.
I just hit my mic. I was hoping that you were going to pull me in. Yes, yes, yes. First of all, anyone who has shared this forum with me already knows what I'm going to say. Uh, I'm not really down with the prices. I get that name out of my divorce, okay? But I love this couple. Yes, it is not black or pro-black to go outside of your home looking a hot mess. If I had an establishment, I would be doing the same thing. Thing about what they're talking about, the cross section of other races that go outside in their pajamas, that go outside with their body parts hanging out, that go outside looking a hot mess, are so few, and most of them relate to the black culture. They think it's okay to do that, that, you know, it's not targeted to the black culture. It's targeted to people who have no awareness about how to present themselves. Has nothing to do with being black, pro-black, anti-black, whatever. It's a hot mess. I shake my head several times a day living where I live and seeing my black people look a hot mess. All right. So that's my point that I'm trying to make. Love these people. Yes, I love their rules. If you're coming to my house, then these are the rules. And if you don't want to follow the rules, then go somewhere else. I yield the mic.
Thank you for that. Always spirited, Sister DC. Anyone else want to chime in?
Yeah, I would say it is. Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing okay. I would say it is in relation to that whole Chris Rock skit, black people versus niggas. But in my point of view, it ain't new. If you look back centuries ago over in Europe,
Is it correct though?
I don't know. Like I'm thinking about, well, I was reading some Charles Dickens the other day, and to see what these folks were saying about the rebel rousers in the street over there who were white. Mm-hmm. And then in a sense, they had, I wouldn't call them a ghetto class, but they had basically a lower class. And these folks acted all kinds of nasty ways.
Why wouldn't you call it a ghetto class?
Well, ghetto is that's kind of like that's kind of more here. I don't know. Maybe you would. But these are more like serfs or lower than serfs, and they supposedly they had these really bad habits. They were uncouth, and yet they had their own culture and whatnot. And you might say they were nasty, but at the same time, what I see, the similarities I see is they had very little contact with whatever you call their bourgeoisie. There was no connection there. I mean, it was more extreme then, but maybe it's the same way now. I don't know. But I would say, yeah, we can chastise these folks, but it ain't new. It ain't something that's like a black pathology, so to speak. I think it's more like that's if anything, that's like more of a class thing. I mean, because you see it echoed throughout history. The lower classes act a certain way. And somebody told me a while ago, two classes of individuals see that act like they don't give a fuck. The super wealthy and the super poor. And the higher you get in wealth, you see a lot of wealthy folks, they dress a certain way, they act a certain way, they don't give a fuck. And they don't follow certain norms, they don't follow certain kind of codes of conduct because they're so rich. And they're out of touch, literally. And he's like, yeah, you see similar habits with the poor folk. They're so removed, they're extremely out of touch. And it's like, you couldn't explain it, but it's like they're two sides of the same coin almost. But we're more nice to one group because they're rich, and we chastise others because they're poor.
Okay, one of the experiences that I had in one of my classes several years back, and I can still remember that it was a summer class. And there's this phenomenon of suburban Black kids who have been going to integrated, predominantly white schools their entire lives, and they do their entire K through 12 within that situation, and then they come to an HBCU, And it is almost as if they try to reinvent themselves, and they create almost a parody of what Blackness is. And these are children that you can honestly say know better. You know, I had one young man who, and this is kind of day one of my class. I'm walking into class, and he turns and he says to one of the females in the back of the class, and excuse my language, "Damn bitch, why the fuck you gonna put me on blast like that, fucking bitch?" And I'm walking into class as he says this. And I told him, I said, you know, your language really reflects not only what you feel about your classmates, but also what you feel about me in this institution. Because I don't believe that if you were at a PWI, predominantly white institution, that you would have said those things. But you put on this cloak of what you think is Blackness, and you're acting out of that. And it's an interesting phenomenon to see privileged Black children sometimes behave in ways that makes you think that they have become, you know, they idolize the have-nots. They're kind of like privileged white children who want to be Black. These privileged suburban children who have not been raised within an authentically Black community tend to do the same thing, from my experience. And matter of fact, I'll never forget this young man, because a young man actually had to drop out of my class during the summer, but he sent me a note. And I want you to think about the name of the suburb that he lived in. He lives in Katy. Now, just think about that. He lives in Katy. Now, in no world is Katy going to ever in any city be a bad area. But this young man left me a note, really nice note. It said, "Dr. Jones, if you know, I had to drop out, what have you, woody woo woo woo," because I had asked him. I said, "Are they banging in Katy?" Okay. And he said, he writes in a note, he says, "But if I ever see you in Katy, it's going down." And I could do nothing but laugh. Ain't nobody banging out in Katy, Texas. Okay. All right. But we see this sort of gravitation towards that. Brother Omar, I believe that you're up next. And wait, before we go forward, I want to give kudos to Regina Al Hassan for all of the work that she's doing. She just had a piece published in one of the gold standard of the philanthropic world. And I just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge her and her accomplishment. We're proud of you, Sister Regina. Very proud of you. Brother Omar, it's on you. And Sister Coyette, welcome. Brother Omar, go right ahead.
Yes, sir. You know, I believe that if people put their money up to open up a business, you know, it's up to them. You know, the rules of their establishment, and it's unfortunate that that anyone would feel left out. But I mean, if you're going to go, it just makes sense to adhere to the rules, you know, whether you like them or not. You know,
Are those rules anti-Black?
No, sir. They're not anti-Black. And I would hope that that we don't give that to us, is that we don't want to respect people's establishment. Now, those people that have a concern, my suggestion is to open your own restaurant up. You know, and then you can allow whomever you want, but you can't tell people what to do with their money. You know, that is just a freedom that we do have in this country. You know, and now the people that has a problem now, they have the right not to visit that establishment. You know, but obviously they're not going to be hurt if the lines are there as you say they are. you know, for people not willing to adhere to their rules.
One of the issues, Brother Omar, that has come up, that one of these young folk, and I'm sure Miss Gaston and Miss Jones are, they're of that age where they're able to stand up for like 3-4 hours and wait to go get something to eat in a hot sun. But one of the pushbacks that I received was quite simply, the prices are in many ways being hypocritical, because their business actually began by them using like a food truck outside of clubs, nightclubs, and what have you. And that's how they developed their following. And you've had a Hollywood who's who, you know, it is the hip Houston place to be. Um, People are leaving straight from the strip club, you know, notable rappers, the talent in the strip club, and they're coming directly to the turkey leg hut. And so they're kind of saying, you know, you're kind of trying to serve two masters.
Okay, I mean that does put a different light, you know, on the situation. But you know, I still think that you know, it's their establishment, they set the rules.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. It's definitely fair. Brother Otis, you had your hand up. Go right ahead.
Yes, it is anti-Black. It is one of the most acceptable forms of anti-Blackness out there, because I mean, look at who they're targeting. Most Black folks, just like Chris Rock said, these are the Black folks that Black folks hate, niggas. And so it is anti-Black. I mean, like you said, they served a certain, and I didn't know. I'm glad you mentioned where they came from, because that says a lot about what they're trying to do. I mean, you came from this gutter place.
Oh, whoa. Come on, man. I think that's unfair.
Well, you just said they were servicing basically places of ill repute, strip clubs.
Well, no, I mean, they know where they don't have the money for a brick and mortar. This is kind of their story.
Right, but we said this is the clientele that you're serving, right, with the food truck.
But wait a minute now, they don't have the money for a brick and mortar. So these two, they use ingenuity to figure out where Black folk were at.
I understand that.
But I mean, we can't say that, because, you know, I'm not sure about you, but and I'm not going to out anybody up in here, but I know we probably had a club goer or two up in here with us right now.
Yeah.
So are they part of a gutter experience, or whatever phraseology that
I mean, that's what the ghetto is, pretty much. It's a gutter. I mean, we even had folks in the ghetto who took a dump on folks. I didn't live in the projects, but I was still in the ghetto. But my grandmother looked down on folks in the projects, and I'm quite sure you have folks out in the projects that look down on a certain other kind of folks in the projects. And I've seen it all, and I've seen people grow this clientele, use this clientele to flip a business, and then they get to a certain level and they don't want to serve them anymore. But again, they were good enough to get you here. Now you're telling them they ain't good enough anymore because you want to reach a different clientele. I would say be honest about that. Be honest about it, because your rules are making it. It's anti-Black, because these folks are there. You built it on their backs, so to speak, and it's the most acceptable kind of anti-Blackness. I mean, who does not want to take a shit on niggas? Chris Rock made a whole skit on it, and this is what people don't see is you can't find it online anymore. But before he died, CBS 60 Minutes reporter Ed Bradley called out Chris Rock on that skit on national TV, interviewed his mother, and basically asked him, if these people are niggas, then who are you in relation to other white people? And his mom was like, well, they couldn't answer that. And they finally answered it. They said, well, the same thing. It proved his point. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, to a certain class, we're all niggas. I mean, no matter how you get. If you notice, since then, he hasn't done that script. He hasn't done that skit anymore. He changed his whole tune. And I think you can find a transcript online, but you can't find a video. But Eric Bradley was superb and called him out on that way back then.
Okay,
I don't know.
Let me jump in and ask you this, brother OG, triple OG.
Mm-hmm.
You can see my screen, correct?
Yeah.
what is it there that denotes Black culture?
As soon as you said do-rags, I knew who he was talking about. And saggy pants. I mean, you don't. It's kind of like porn. You know it when you see it. I mean, I don't wear do-rags, but still, some things happen to me in some clubs because some white security guard had a certain point of view about a colored towel you may have, or gym shoes, so to speak, or the wrong cap. I mean, you know it when you see it and you experience it, and Black clubs do it too. I don't blame them because in my neighborhood there were clubs where folks brought guns and they were trying to at the same time grow a business but protect their establishment. Again, if you're dealing with the gutter, you're going to get all that. And it's like, well, I say at least be a little more honest about it. I mean, some clubs are more honest about it, but these guys, it sounds like they're trying to have it both ways. I mean,
all right,
again, it's a dilemma.
All right, my brother. I'm unsure who's first between Sister DC and Sunseri. So either one of you choose to go.
DC was first.
Yeah, DC was first.
Right, DC, go right ahead.
Thank you. So this has, in my opinion, very little to do with race. Someone, yes, they got an idea, they invested money into how to present that idea to the public and to get a following. They got the following and they took the next step. They opened up a storefront. This has everything to do with you wanting to come to my storefront looking any kind of way. You know, Monique said it also, and she caught a lot of flack in the last couple of months about talking to her sisters, asking her sisters to have more pride in themselves than to be going out, you know, looking a hot mess. There was a post that I made on Facebook. I saw this picture of this sister standing at some check-in counter at an airport. She looked a hot mess. And my comment to that post that I made was, if the airline refused her service and told her to take her suitcase to the laboratory and change her clothes or put some clothes on and take that bonnet off her head, they would have every right to, because when you buy a plane ticket, you unknowingly agree to follow certain rules with the airlines, which include a dress, how you present yourself. Right down to the cologne you wear, right down to everything, you know. If African American people or any other people want to present themselves in such a way, they have every right to. They just don't have a right to do it anywhere they want to. And that's what this is all about. To me, it has very little to do with race, other than the fact that for some reason, this generation of African Americans feel like they can climb out of bed and not even take their bonnets off and walk out of the house with pajamas on. And I'm supposed to look at them like they did something. Yeah, you did something. You did something that shows me you don't care nothing about yourself. So again, I yield the mic.
Thank you for that, Sister DC. I want us to deal with everything that Sister DC brought up, but I also want to share my screen to give you some of the reaction of some of the people. Here is
James. Also, if you want to go to my Facebook timeline, it was last week or week before last where that picture was. So, you know, if you want to use that, you have more than my approval to do.
Okay. Ms. Jones, let's go. The mic is yours.
So I have never personally visited the Turkey Hut. I have driven by and seen long lines and like, what is this? And it's like, that's the Turkey Hut. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Could you explain to those who are not Houstonians and have never been on Alameda what the line is like?
It honestly looks like a line for people getting in the club. It was kind of like my first experience when I drove by the original Frenchies.
Okay.
I was new to Houston. My mom was driving me because I think I was still maybe in high school when I was or fresh in college. And I drove by and I was like, what is this line? Is this a club? They was like, no, that's Frenchies. I was like, what is Frenchies? They was like, a chicken place. And I was like,
Fried
what?
chicken.
It is honestly just a long line of people. And if you didn't know, it does kind of look like maybe somebody's trying to get into a club or something.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the interesting things about the genesis of the turkey leg hut is that there basically is no parking down there. It's close to downtown. It's a residential area, but Alameda is a main street, but you can park on both sides of the street. But we're talking about hundreds of people trying to go to one establishment. These people were actually parking in people's grass on their front lawn, blocking their driveway, parking in their driveway, and getting out and going to the turkey leg hut for 2-3 hours. Because it's not one of those things where they just go and then they get up and leave. They sit there and and socialize. It is kind of the place to be. So it has been a very interesting experience. And now they're getting ready to go to Atlanta. They're going to franchise out to Atlanta as well. So Ms. Jones, it's
yeah.
on you still.
And so I do believe that people should carry themselves in a way that is respectable. But I also wonder, is the company or the business setting an environment for such? Like when my kids come, like I was working in youth ministry, when my kids came, there was a certain environment. And when they were there, they would act different than they would if they were elsewhere. So my question, I guess, is are they setting an environment to where I feel comfortable enough to come there like that? Because I feel like if they were to go to somewhere, what's that, Steak 58? I think everybody goes to, would those same people dressed like that going to Steak 58? I would guess not, because of the environment that's set. So yes, I do believe that, you should have standards, but I believe that those standards probably should have been set from day one, which wouldn't have made this such a big deal.
Well, I mean, you have something that's coming for sure when you have a DJ inside your establishment playing hip hop. So you're kind of inviting it in, so to speak. So yeah. So they've kind of, I agree with you, Ms. Jones. They definitely have set a climate to bring a certain clientele in. Um, and I think that how, it's kind of like a relationship. How you begin is often, and what you see in the beginning is often how it ends, but you don't see that in the beginning because you're enthused. I think that's what they've done. So it's definitely a developing story. Brother OG, go right ahead.
Yeah, to me, in today's world, it's like all they got to do is just say, you know what, we changing the standard. If this is your target audience who was there when you had nothing and helped you use their dollars to help come up on that, then explain it to them. Hey, we're trying to do something different. We're trying to change the atmosphere. This is why, and explain it to them. A lot of times, these clubs don't know what don't get told is these clubs are abiding by what the police and city officials tell them, because they set up a lot of these rules to penalize a lot of Black clubs like them. Because believe me, the city and the police know who they are. And a lot of times what they do is they'll fight these kind of clubs on a liquor license. I mean, police are actively saying behind the scenes, no, or be careful of giving these folks a liquor license because they ain't trustworthy. If they had problems before, if there were any cop calls to their previous establishment, the cops know about it, and they probably was lobbying against them getting their liquor license. If it's anything like Dayton, Ohio. I mean, you have cops behind the scenes saying, yeah, the city does listen to them when somebody tries to open the club up, and if they have, I mean, it's a controversial thing. Well, a lot of times, a lot of Black folks weren't getting these licenses, and they couldn't get off the ground. And chances are, if you don't get a liquor license, your club won't succeed. And what they found out is police have a big say in that, and so they're probably trying to cater to this new spot, cater to whatever city ordinance they have. They should just go ahead and explain that to their people. Their patrons.
But see the impetus for this, if you trust what the prices say, actually came from Black folk within the establishment.
Okay.
Who wanted it basically cleaned up. Said that, you know, that they actually have kind of a laid back vibe of, you come to this establishment and it's like you're at a backyard barbecue. So they have the music going, X, Y, and Z. But apparently, you know, I don't know if you can call them the holy rollers, a church crowd, or just, as DC Price would probably term them, decent people with common sense. Their expectations of what they're comfortable with is conflicting with that population of individuals. And they complained apparently at such a level that this not only a dress code, but also a code of conduct was implemented. Because, you know, and let's be honest about this. One bad experience within a Black business is detrimental almost to all Black businesses.
Yep.
Versus if you went over there on Main, went to McDonald's on Main, and they messed up your Big Mac, and you want some McDonald's, you said, no, I ain't going to that one on Main. I'm gonna go over there to that one on Richmond, because that one on Main, and you single out these different franchises. But when it comes to Black folk, one experience, and lo and behold, don't let it be your business. Because and we've seen, and let's you know, in this space, and it's something that I wish we would do in all spaces. Let's tell the truth. Okay.
Well, they can still just be honest and just say, hey, this is why we're doing it. Explain it.
There's an element that comes with that culture. Let's be honest. Okay. And these people are, I believe that the figure, I'm not sure, someone told me, I was down on Alameda, I was at a different establishment, but they said that they had made 1.3 million in profit in their first year of operation of their brick and mortar. That's incredible. And Lord knows we don't need somebody that's silly minded to come up in here and do something violent. Because with all those people standing outside, it's ripe opportunity for somebody to drive by. So maybe
they can explain it. I mean, because black folks are good about that, about word of mouth. Hey, don't mess this up for the business. And sometimes they'll police it.
I don't think that population we're talking about is.
You know, I mean, it's happened. It may not be as widespread, but I've seen it happen before. People will your clientele will try to protect your business, so to speak. And you can't stop everybody, but you at least have people, they try to police themselves, so to speak. But the whole point is, I mean, black folks especially need to be more honest and say, hey, this is why we're doing it. Explain to them, like you said, it's hard for a black business to succeed. We need all the help we can get, and just level with folks. Yep. And then you'll find that maybe you'll get more help.
You know, once again, I'm just, you know, I'm a realist, and I think that save for you going to get someone with enormous street credibility in Houston, you can't rationalize with that group. Okay.
This is 2021. TikTok is a real thing, and there are tags with this very thing going on and on. The kids are doing it. I mean, it may not be widespread, but they are trying to police themselves about some of these environments. You still have knuckleheads, but they still, like, you know, they'll still say, hey, protect this business.
That's my point exactly. That you have it's so you can have 98% of the populace agree to not do something. All you need is that 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
And wild out. I don't know who was next. Vernell, DC, and Regina. You all have your hands up. Y'all sort it out. Somebody go first.
Vernell would be for me. I can't see Regina.
Okay, Sister Vernell, go right ahead.
I'm gonna let Sister Regina go ahead.
Sister Regina.
And then I'll go after her.
Okay. I just was kind of curious because I've never been to the turkey leg hut. I feel like I'm missing out. Need to take a trip. But I'm curious, are we making assumptions that all of their customer base is from the club? It sounds like it's not.
No, it's definitely not. It's okay. Open all day. But one of the things that you see that's very interesting, if you go down there and just drive up and down Alameda, is that it's 12 o'clock noon And many of these people look like they have been in the club.
Okay. This kind of reminds me of, well, not kind of, it reminds me exactly of the time, the little short time that I worked at the Columbus Urban League. So the one time that I worked at a Black organization, and I was really surprised to see that we had a dress code, and the dress code included wearing panties and bra and panties. And at the time, I'm a professional. Like, this is a professional setting. I'm like, why would someone need to tell me to wear drawers to work? And there were other things in the dress code that I thought were just so a little invasive, but also extreme. And it just kind of, I always wondered what happened, what led up to someone having to put in writing, wear bra and panties, wear underwear, like. And so this reminds me of that. Like, it must be extreme, and it ultimately it's their business. And if they don't, maybe they are being very savvy, and they know exactly where their money is coming from, and maybe they know that they make more money during the day from that family-based crowd. And if those are the people there, I can't think of the term, but the concept, basically the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And if those people are being verbal, like, look, we like coming here, but we tired of this trash and this ratchet behavior that's we have to deal with coming here. If someone was to tell me that about my business, I would respond to that, because they cared enough. One, they spending money with me. Two, they're invested enough that they're sharing, they're making that request and letting me know how they feel about it, and being really clear about their expectations. And I don't think this is anti-Black. Nothing inherently Black about obscene language and baggy clothing.
And not
So I
wearing
just think
bras
it's
and panties.
right. I don't know. I just think we can't. Yes, I know in Ohio there are a lot of establishments that hide behind dress codes, and they're just flat out being racist. But they say it's a dress code. But then we always have the option to wear something else. I mean, if you really want to go there and get some turkey legs, I don't know, put on something else. I'm gonna stop.
Okay, thank you, Sister Regina. Um, Vernell, I believe you're next.
Yeah. I was, I'm not from Houston, but we've heard these kinds of things before about people and what they're wearing. In this case it doesn't sound like it's a Black issue. Um and it sounds like the owners of the establishment is just asking people to like wear clothes. Is that right? Like, not have your booty hanging out. Is that right? Or are they asking them to like they're not asking them for like semi-formal attire. They're just really asking to wear clothes, correct? Like outdoor clothes, not bed clothes.
Yeah, I mean, if I can pull it up, give me 1 second to pull up exactly what it is that they are articulating that they want. Here it is right here for you. These are the rules. No excessively revealing clothing. Shorts must cover your entire bottom. No obscene language or baggy clothing. No house attire, including wave caps, do-rags, house shoes, or shower caps. No exposed undergarments, including sports bras, panties, or garments resembling these items. No swimwear of any kind. Those are the rules.
That's not much. Like I mean, that is not over the top. They're saying if you got on the shirt with the F word, I don't want to see the F word in my establishment.
Vernell, you've muted yourself. You muted yourself. You're muted. Okay, we're going to move to Sister DC and we'll come right back to you, Vernell. Sister DC?
You know, Regina and Vernell, they both hit it on the nail as far as I'm concerned. I like jazz music. I lived in Dallas for 13 years. There wasn't much offering and in Dallas for the type of not just music, but environment that I was looking for. I went to one place and left there with fleas. Wasn't gonna do that again. I would drive 2.5 hours to Austin, to the world. I can't think of the name of the place, but place absolutely wonderful. Black people, white people, Asian, all different types of people. And it was just a different vibe. It was classy. You know, it was whatever. And I went there enough where I saw they turned some folks away at the door, you know, with the tickets because on their website, they listed their dress code. And if you bought a ticket and then thought you were just going to come, you know, any kind of way, that was on you. You're turned away. You know, folks have to understand there is I say, a standard to society. Now, if you live in a subculture, then, you know, go hang out with your subculture, but don't think that you're going to come into general society and, you know, inflect yourself in places that, you know, are nice. We're not going to allow you to make a nice place not nice. I want to continue to come here, you know. And the other thing, somebody said something about you know, putting the word out. The word gets put out, but the word that gets put out is they don't want us here. So what's going to happen is somebody's going to come in there and do something stupid. They're going to plant drugs, they're going to do something to get the place shut down, and then they'll sit back and laugh and say ha ha ha. That's how we do each other. All right. That's how we do each other. When we feel our little feelings are hurt because I don't want to see your booty hanging out, or I don't, you know, I don't want you with do-rags on your head. I don't want you walking on the back of your shoes in my nice establishment. I'm going to yield my mic for the rest of the meeting unless you guys really just say something that makes me jump out. But yeah, again, yielding the mic. That's my opinion.
Nah, please don't close off your mic for the rest of the meeting. We definitely cherish your fire. Okay, Brother Omar, the international Omar. We have two Omar. We got one international, we got one that's domestic. So international Omar.
Good evening, family. I keep going back to this green thing, right? I think the prices made a decision based on green, and they decided it was in their best interest. They want to continue to build on that $1.3 million that they made in their first year and open a franchise in Atlanta, that they made a choice. I worked in a restaurant, very popular restaurant in New Orleans, family-owned business, Dookie Chase, and had a very strict dress code. You couldn't come in there with shorts. You can't, to this day, you can't go in there with shorts up your behind. They've changed it recently. You can wear shorts, but you have to have sleeves on, no under armpits around. They do a buffet. And I'm gonna say this, they've been able to also, they are very engaged in the community. If something's going on in the community, they are one of the sponsors. Count on it. If it's positive for that community, it's called Tremay. Dookie Chase is going to be one of the lead sponsors and has been for over the last 50, 60 years. It's the oldest Black-owned restaurant in the state of Louisiana. He opened in 1941 and served every president since Kennedy. But I think one of the things that they've also done is they've recognized, because they sit directly across the street from a public housing unit, right, of development, the Lafitte housing development. And they serve the entire city. They serve the entire nation. You come to New Orleans, you go to the Chase. They have a takeout window. They know that their neighbors across the street who support them as much as anybody else, that's that regular money, that everyday money, they can come into the restaurant, into the bar area, order their food. Right now, I don't know what it's like with the COVID situation, but my point is that they were able to come up with a solution to the situation. And I agree with everybody else. I think that as business owners, they have a right to determine who comes in their restaurant. I don't think the dress code is inappropriate. And I don't think it's anti-Black, and to be honest with you, I don't know what that has. I don't think that has anything to do, showing your behind, showing your underwear, showing your body parts, exposing all your private stuff to the public. I don't think that has anything to do with Black culture. So with that, I yield.
You bring up a very interesting issue, that the turkey leg hut, actually, you can order your food to go, and you actually don't have to go into the establishment. You can actually pick it up as, like I said, they started with a food truck that sits across the street. So if you really want it and you don't want to stand in line for 2, 3, 4 hours, you can get that same food to go. So it's really one of the greatest signs to me that this is really not so much about the food. It's more so about the location, well, the experience. And their customer base is battling over what that experience should be. And I believe that maybe even a better solution for them is to kind of let it be known that there is a turkey leg hut after hours experience, where those of us who, I get to yawning around 8 o'clock p.m. now. They can bring these, the young club goers in there with the after hours experience. There's got to be something where these two populaces can coexist. But what's happening is that those who probably should be coming at night are coming through the day and on Sunday and what have you, and bringing that, I guess the most politically correct way to say it is that urban experience to the daytime and what have you. For some reason, Houdini's Freaks Come Out at Night just popped up in my head. So I don't know why. But the floor is open. And you have to remember that when you're going up in the turkey leg hut, you're talking about dropping $20, $25 for a turkey leg.
Yeah, they need good PR, man. I mean, in today's world, it's very easy to talk to your audience and say, hey, don't screw this up for us. I mean, this is explain what you're doing. Most folks are pretty reasonable about that. Again, you'll have some knuckleheads, but just say, hey, you know what? We're trying to come up. We're trying to expand. You guys helped us get here. I know this. We let you come in the past doing this stuff, and then we let a lot of things slide. But if we're going to a new level, we can't do this where we're trying to go. Help us get there. I mean, most Black folks will understand that, and I think the reason folks are probably doing it because they probably think they can until they get the message that they can't. If you level with them, they probably, again, police themselves. Say, hey, look, let's not screw this up. Put on a nice shirt. I mean, Jay-Z made a shirt about put on button downs. That's been a rap for the past 20 years at least, about dressing better or whatnot coming up. So they know this is a matter about, of just, extending an invitation to put their best foot forward.
That's our generation. You better get the Migos to rhyme about something like that. They ain't listening to no Jay.
I mean, but again, they know because again, the thing with Monique shows you they know. I mean, most of the culture has changed from the 50s when we're riding airplanes. No one dresses up anymore going on an airplane. So Monique can go somewhere with all that. I mean, folks are they want to relax, and it's a cultural shift. White folks been doing it for the past 20 years. I mean, and then
doing what?
Going on airplanes in their pajamas and whatnot. That was an issue. That's 10 years ago. People complain about white kids doing it. It ain't stopped nothing. And so you can't. I mean, Black folks are consumers too. They're going to adjust. But again, I've seen these people police themselves. I've seen them straighten up, and some number to help businesses succeed. They know what to do. So it's a matter of just, I mean, if you're a Black business, just talk to your audience. You got followers on social media. You got, I mean, you can spread the word that way. It works. A good PR person will tell them that.
Man, brother,
No,
I don't know what type of Black folk you done dealt with at the bottom. They got this place here in Houston called Grand Lux.
Again, it won't be everybody.
Hold on, bro. I ain't overtalk you. I'll let you finish. Grand Lux. It's a subsidiary of the Cheesecake Factory. Let's just be honest about what it is. It's a little more swanky than the Cheesecake Factory. One of the things that I do with my graduating seniors, if they can track me down and trust me when I say I become very elusive at the very end. But if they can track me down, I will take them to eat wherever they want to go. Had a brother who wanted to go to Grand Lux for his for our personal, graduation thing. It's talking about what the future is, what he's planning on doing, and what have you. And we're standing there, we're sitting there, we're in there eating. It's probably about 12:30, 1 o'clock, right after noon. And I saw them coming. Okay, and I'm gonna use my J. California Cooper writing skills on y'all. I ain't gonna say nothing else about them. I'm gonna let your imagination develop who them is. Okay, them was coming to the door. There was about 8 of them. Okay, white tees, flip-flops on. And the manager of Grand Lux at the time was an African-American female. And I saw her make a beeline directly to the door. She's trying to cut them off before they can even get in. But they pushed their way in. So now you have her against 8 of them. And all she got behind her is her wait staff, who look very tenuously like they scared. And they should have been scared. Okay. Things are being said about you're not dressed appropriately to come up in here. The head of them reached into his pocket and he pulled out a wad of money that was so doggone thick. I was like, Jesus Christ. And he made this statement very loud. And I'm just saying this to kind of describe how irrational some people can be. Okay. He says, I got enough money right here to buy me a nigga. What you mean I can't come up in here? And of course, one of the waiters turned and looked at me and made eye contact and came over there and asked me if I could help them out. Do you know them? I said, man, you better get back over there before they beat the brakes off of your manager. Okay. So we're not talking about necessarily a rational group of individuals. We're talking about some people who, for all intents and purposes, one could argue were raised by wolves.
No, they're completely rational. They're rational human beings. I mean, they're haughty and arrogant. But the key thing you said was they put out a wad of cash. That's arrogance. That's arrogance. They think they can get away with it. But that's not all of them.
And can I ask a question? So is this establishment? Is this like I sound like it's two different issues. Like, are we talking about people who, them that you're referring to, Dr. Jones? I think we all know who the them are, and the them are different in my eyes from the people who roll out of bed in the morning in their PJs and bonnets or do-rags and just walk out the door and start conducting the business of their everyday life. Those are, sounds like those to me those are two different groups of people. And so the them that you refer to, that is a certain element of folks. I don't think the arguments about presentation of self and self-worth and how you want people to perceive you, I don't think that necessarily applies to that particular population of people. But I do think it is a different conversation when we talk about how, Black men and Black women are presenting themselves, who are not the them that you speak of, but I'm going to wear my pajamas, and I'm going to say this, only probably within the last couple of years would I ever thought that I would be sitting in a restaurant, particularly a Black-owned restaurant, and actually see people roll into this restaurant in their pajamas, in their night clothes, in the bonnets and the do-rag. Like I would have never imagined, if somebody would have asked me that about 5 or 10 years ago, I would have never imagined that I would see that. But here we are, you know. But I think those are two different groups of people. That's in my opinion, and I yield.
All right, Brother Omar, it's on you.
I just, a couple of things I heard, I just want to comment. I think that, you know, I've noticed is that even for funerals, people don't get dressed up. Kids go with t-shirts on the funeral. Adults wear t-shirts and stuff to funerals. You know, when I grew up, there were certain colors you couldn't wear to funerals, right? But having worked in a family-owned business, I know that to be able to hire a PR person is a stretch, right? And then the flip side of that is that everybody that's sitting in your dining room is a critic. Everybody that's waiting in line is a food critic. Everybody has a Yelp account. People are commenting in real time with pictures. And so it's a challenge that restaurant owners in particular have to deal with, but I think business owners in general. But then you talked about them having a DJ. I think they again have to make some choices about, you know, what kind of audience they want, who is it that they want in their business. And the DJ in itself isn't bad, but depending on the type of music, that's who you're going to draw to your establishment. Again, I don't know how much the dress, what that has to do with Black culture. I don't know, but I agree with Vernell. I think there's a couple different issues that are going on that we're talking about. And so that's what I offer, and with that I yield.
All right, Sister Regina, it's on you.
I kind of forget what my comments were going to be. I kind of to what OG was talking about, the self-policing, and just that I don't think that self-policing really happens, and wondering if what you meant was excuse me, that like Black people should be self-policing other Black people. Like I should be able to go to someone and be like, hey, my sister, hey, my brother, you need to dress a little better. Is that what you're suggesting? You're laughing, but I'm not being serious, because that's what it sounded like.
No, I'm talking about what I've actually seen it. I've seen some Black folks say, "Hey, let's not screw this up for them." And I don't know how widespread it was, but I heard people talking about it. So, and I don't think these Black people are stupid. They know what's up. I mean, some of them do. Again, you got knuckleheads, but some of them,
I'm gonna be honest. If I do see people dressed inappropriately, it's summertime, and people be so happy to show some skin. You do see butt cheeks hanging out, and I don't want to see that, especially like when I'm out with my family. I don't care what color the butt is. I don't want to see your ass, like so. But I'm not getting ready to tell somebody that, you know, and along with that, I'm saying that because I don't want anybody telling me that. And if I am fully comfortable with how I come out the door, and I have to assume that everyone else is, that they're making the same conscious choices, whether or not I agree with them. If I come out the door the way that I come out the door, who are you to tell me what I'm supposed to look like? And so on one hand, I completely agree with, oh, we should have some self-respect. I absolutely believe that. I really do. I don't want to see it. You know, I don't want my baby seeing it. You know, I don't want to, you know, I just don't want to see it. But at the same time, that self-policing, you know, I wonder if that's a reality. I think that could be a little dangerous. That could be a little risky, because if you catch me on the wrong day and you talking about what I got on, I got words for you. And if I'm big and bad enough to have my ass hanging out below my shorts, and you big and bad enough to feel like it's your business to check me, supposedly, quote unquote, check me, well, you might just meet your checkmate in this one. And so, you know, I think that self-policing, I don't know, this can be a little challenging. That's just chiming in.
Thank you for that, Sister Regina. Sister Jones, you are up.
Miss Regina hit it directly on the head. I am, I feel like this kind of deviates from the conversation. However, in the 1800s, if a woman showed her ankles, it was like, oh, the harlot, how could she? Um, and I feel like as time goes on, society changes and what is deemed appropriate. So I guess my question now is, what is appropriate? Why is I wouldn't do it. But why are pajamas not appropriate? Why is the butt cheeks hanging out not appropriate? Because if you're at a beach and you have on that type of clothing, nobody says nothing, nobody says anything. But if you go to a restaurant, well, then it's inappropriate. So I guess my question is, who is deeming what is appropriate and what is inappropriate? And somebody also comment with the DJ. I feel like I go to Sunshine's, which is like on kind of in the sunny side area, that south side area. And there's 102 playing in the background. The people who come in there are dressed nice. This is a Black owned establishment. And I feel like that's the kind of environment that they set up. And I feel like if the Turkey Hut wants a different environment and a different type of people who say, this is how I prefer things, this is how I prefer to dress, this is what I prefer to do, then they need to create that environment. And you may have started later. So I feel like that's maybe what they're trying to do now, is start a better environment. But kind of like what Regina said, it's like, if this is what I'm comfortable in, then why should I have to change? I mean, I wouldn't do it, but that's their thing.
I think the important thing to remember is nobody's telling them how to dress. They just telling them how to come to their establishment, and if people are comfortable dressing a certain way, then find yourself somewhere else to go. I mean, it is really just that simple.
True.
I'm sorry.
She simply said true. She's agreeing.
Oh, okay.
You throwing my brother Omar off when you interject on him. You gotta let him go.
Yeah, can jump in on the old people that way. No, but serious business. I think that we may be making more of it than what it is, because I think that if these people have lines of business that a couple of people have said that they have, I don't think that dress code is a big problem for the people that come there, and I mean, it might behoove them, as it was stated earlier, being that they did establish their business off of a certain clientele, then they might want to say, maybe they can open up another place somewhere else, as opposed to moving to Atlanta, to pay homage to the people that got them where they are. I mean, that wouldn't be a big thing for them to do. In another section of town, Dr. Jones did say that they do have the same truck that they use out by the establishment also. So I mean, there are a lot of options, but if they have a business and their rules are getting them over $1 million a year, they would be foolish to change it.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Any last comment? Anyone want to share something that they just got to get off their chest? Feel free right now. The floor is yours.
If they can go, if it's just for the food and they could go to the Turkey Leg Hut truck, then people would go there. But seemingly people are coming for an experience.
Right.
And you are providing this experience. And if they keep coming back for this experience, then the type of experience you are providing is inviting those type of people who enjoy those type of experiences to your business. So it seems like, I hate to put it on them, but you're at fault for who's coming to your restaurant. I mean, you can't control who's coming to your restaurant, of course. But if you continuously do these kind of things and put those kind of DJs and they playing Back That Thing Up, I know it's an old reference, but I couldn't think of a Migos song or anything. And you playing that 9-9 for the 2000, and it's like, oh no, but we don't want you to bust it open, and we don't want you to, it's like, why do you keep inviting me to do this? And so I feel like, again, if they want that environment and those type of people to change, I think you just have to change the environment of your restaurant, which maybe is what they're trying to do now.
I do have a question, if it's okay. Is there anyone on the panel that has been to this establishment to ascertain what type of music the DJ's playing? I mean, just because they have a DJ, that doesn't mean that they are playing a particular type of music, you know?
I think the music varies. From, you know, you have that, you know, Frankie Beverly and Maze crowd, and I'm sure that they're playing that during the day. But at night, when you know, the club ends, and you know, because many of these people, one of the criticisms was that these are, you know, you're getting these notable hip hop artists to come, and they bring a following with them, so you're playing their type of music at night. So I think that it vacillates, and it's kind of tailored to. I think it gets more risque as the clock approaches midnight.
Okay, I got that. What time do they close?
Many people are saying it's not till 2-3 o'clock in the morning. So, but
they may not have a big problem then.
Bedtime.
You said they got rappers coming to this place too?
Oh yeah. But yeah,
I mean, that's on them.
It
It's like
exploded with some posts from Kevin Hart. When Kevin Hart was in town, he went there and he issued some endorsements of it, and it really accelerated their growth. So it's sort of the place for notable people to go to now within Black Houston.
And they go properly dressed. I mean, it's the same as I made reference to the rest of the establishment in New Orleans. I mean, the who's who from the beginning, Muhammad Ali, for Ray Charles, the movie. I mean, the restaurant is featured in the movie Ray. They put on what the business owners and what the proprietors required them to wear. They come, Jay-Z, Beyonce, they come, but they're properly dressed.
Certainly. Anything?
Yeah, I mean, they got the means. I mean, in this day and age, I think, again, social media will pretty much, I mean, you get star power on your side. They can say, hey, you know what, don't screw this up for us, you know? I mean, tell something, I mean, it can happen. I mean, I forget where it was. Some restaurant went viral because some woman was twerking in a restaurant, but yet all these folks defending the restaurant, the owner on social media for putting them out. And pretty soon, the environment changed. And they said, and they brought us to the same thing. Don't, I mean, why are you, and you found out that, well, in the past, they built a following off playing certain kind of music, catering to a certain kind of crowd. And some folks, these folks didn't quite get the message still, but then now they finally got it because they got called out in some viral posts and whatnot. And so, I mean, and it seemed to have worked. So today it's just a matter of, you know, I mean, just, you know, asking folks to help you out, tell them what's going on. Most of them know. I mean, they'll word will spread. I mean, again, you won't stop everybody, but I've seen it happen. I mean, there are news stories about it.
All right, my brother. All right, we are up against it. And once again, we're a stickler for time. We're actually 10 minutes over our normal time, and we will go ahead and close out as we always do here.
All right. Excellent program, Doc. And as we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm gonna kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first, today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Peace. Love you all.